most people hear the word mesothelioma, they picture men who were shipyard workers or who worked directly with asbestos insulation decades ago. And it's true that those people are at very high risk. But mesothelioma risk goes much further than that. The truth is that millions of Americans have been exposed to asbestos in ways they never knew about, in jobs they never suspected were dangerous, and even in their own homes. You might be at risk and not even know it. Hi, I'm Terri Oppenheimer. I've been writing about mesothelioma and asbestos for the website mesothelioma.net for over a decade, and I'm going to help you understand whether you might be at risk. Let's start with the high-risk occupations where we do see the majority of mesothelioma cases today. First and foremost, military veterans, especially Navy veterans. If you served in the Navy between the 1950s and the 1980s, you're at significant risk. Navy ships were loaded with asbestos in every compartment. Engine rooms and boiler rooms had the highest concentrations, but even if you were a cook or clerk or worked in the ship's laundry, you were exposed to asbestos fibers that constantly circulated through the ship's ventilation systems, or asbestos that accumulated on the uniforms that those who worked directly with the material wore. Shipyard workers who built or repaired Navy vessels faced even higher exposures. Construction workers are a huge at-risk population. If you worked in construction anytime from the 1940s through the 1980s, you were almost certainly exposed. Asbestos was used in insulation, ceiling tiles, floor tiles, roofing materials, joint compound, spackling, cement, and adhesives, and more. Carpenters, electricians, plumbers, pipe fitters, insulators, roofers, drywall workers, all of these trades had regular exposure to asbestos. Also, industrial workers in manufacturing plants and steel mills, oil refineries, and chemical plants were exposed through equipment insulation, various processes, the buildings they worked in. Auto mechanics worked with asbestos in brake pads and clutches. Railroad workers encountered it in locomotive insulation. Firefighters are at terrible risk from asbestos-containing building materials that are released when buildings burn. All those people are at very high risk. But what most people don't realize is you didn't have to work in these occupations to be exposed. Many people who worked in seemingly safe occupations have been diagnosed with the disease because they worked in hospitals or government buildings or school buildings that were insulated with asbestos. Secondary exposure, which is also called take-home exposure, has caused mesothelioma in thousands of people who never worked with asbestos themselves, but who were exposed to the material that was carried into their home on the hair, skin, or clothing of loved ones who did. And there's also environmental exposure. If you lived near a shipyard, an asbestos mine, manufacturing facility, or near naturally occurring asbestos deposits, you could have been exposed. Libby, Montana is the most famous example of this type of exposure. An entire community was exposed from a nearby mine, resulting in thousands of asbestos-related illnesses and deaths. Now, I'm going to just take a break here for a moment to remind everyone. If you're finding this information helpful, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It really helps us get our videos seen by as many people as possible. And if there's a topic you'd like to see covered or a question you'd like answered in a future video, let me know in the comments section below. Also, make sure you watch until the end of the video. I'll tell you exactly how to access help and resources if you or someone you love has been diagnosed with mesothelioma. So, what's your actual risk if you were exposed? It depends on several factors. Duration and intensity of exposure matter a lot. The more exposure you have over a longer period of time, the greater your risk is going to be. And the type of asbestos you were exposed to matters too. All asbestos can cause mesothelioma, but some types are more dangerous than others. And smoking dramatically increases the risk of asbestos-related lung cancer in people who are exposed to asbestos. Here's what's most important. There is no safe level of asbestos exposure. Even relatively brief exposure can lead to mesothelioma showing up decades later. We've seen cases in people who worked with asbestos for just a few months. Here's what you need to know. The latency period, which is the time between your exposure and the disease showing up, is typically 20 to 50 years. If you were exposed in the 1970s or 1980s, you may just now be entering your high-risk period. If you worked with asbestos in the 90s, you likely have years before your symptoms show up. So you need to be vigilant. What should you do if you think you're at risk? First, know your exposure history. Think through your work history, military service, and the jobs that your family members held. Write them all down. The companies you worked for, what years, what your specific job tasks were, and any products you remember working with. Second, be vigilant about your symptoms. Know the warning signs. The big three are persistent shortness of breath, chronic cough, and unexplained chest or abdominal pain. Let your doctor know about your asbestos exposure immediately so they can put it in your medical records. And if you develop symptoms, don't put off seeing your doctor and getting checked out. Third, if you're at high risk due to significant occupational exposure, go beyond letting your doctor know. Talk to them about being proactive. While there's no standard screening program for mesothelioma, people with a known heavy exposure can benefit from periodic chest x-rays or CT scans. Fourth, if you're diagnosed, understand this. You may have legal options. Companies that manufactured asbestos products and employers who fail to protect workers can be held liable. Asbestos trust funds have billions set aside for victims, and veterans who were exposed during their service years may be eligible for comprehensive VA benefits. Are you at risk? If you worked in the military, in construction, manufacturing, or industrial trades from the 1940s through the 1980s, I'm afraid so. If you lived with someone in those industries, you have risk from secondary exposure. And if you lived near asbestos sources, you might have environmental exposure. Being aware of these risks helps you be on the lookout for symptoms so you can catch problems early when treatment is most effective. If it's been decades since you were exposed, you're likely in or entering the high-risk period for developing the disease. For more information, visit mesothelioma.net and fill out our form for a free information packet. Or for immediate help, call 1-800-692-8608 and speak to one of our helpful patient advocates, or use the live chat feature. As for me, remember to post your questions below, and I'll see you next time.